3, 2, 1. Liz Brigham, welcome to everybody in Charlotte.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
You and I met, golly, I don't even know what. I mean, maybe a year ago, a couple years ago, year and a half ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I mean,
Will Brawley.
Will Brawley connected us, and obviously you're heavily involved in Davidson, and I'll let you talk about that in a second. I always want to say Hurt Locker, but it's not the Hurt Locker, it's the Hurt Hub.
Yeah.
And, Will was telling me a lot about you as I was starting this company as an entrepreneur in Charlotte, and I know that is heavily in your world. Before you came in here, as I have done before, but I tend to obviously do a little research and I look into who you are and what you do and why you do it, which we'll dive into. But I see so many things that you've got your hands in, and it's overwhelming to read. I cannot imagine what it's like for you. And it's just like, I'm like, man, you're either just a genius or you're just a hard worker, and I have a feeling it's both. Yeah, no problem. But it's like, holy moly, you do so many things, and you've got this incredible background of business school, right, at Michigan?
University of Michigan, yep.
And you went to Davidson, and so where are you from?
I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Big Cardinals fan. I'm fifth generation.
No way.
St. Louis. So one of the, I come from a pretty large Italian Catholic, German Catholic family.
Okay.
Most of my family has stayed in St. Louis, but my mom, decided to go elsewhere, and all of us kind of scattered a little bit. So
fascinating.
Yeah.
My grandmother was German, and I feel like there was a German kind of hub in that area. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's like the Germans, Irish, and Italians pretty much run St. Louis. So yes.
Run it.
Yeah.
Fascinating, because my father was born somewhat in that area, and it's because my grandfather met his wife, who was a German immigrant. And I remember looking at my family tree and seeing this like pack of German, like just hub of people in that area.
Yes.
So my dad was born around there.
Yeah.
I don't remember where exactly. I think it was somewhere a little bit south of St. Louis, but and then they moved this way. So
yeah,
interestingly, maybe we're connected
somehow.
Cool. So St. Louis, and then what takes you to Davidson?
Oh yeah. Well, I kind of had a 6 or 7 month stint in D.C. actually before that. So spring semester of my junior year of high school, I was a U.S. congressional page in the House, which was an amazing experience. It was 72 students from every single walk of life in this country, every socioeconomic background, racial background, thoughts, perspective, and effectively like going to college. We lived in a dorm that was maybe condemned, not sure. Old house office building that was a couple blocks off of, who knows, off of Capitol Hill. It's now a parking lot, but what did they say? They tear down Paradise and put up a parking lot. So that was a thing. But yeah, so I went to high school in the attic of Library of Congress at the Page School from about 6:45 in the morning until 11 or so. And then we worked a full, almost 40-hour week, serving as, mail runners, answering phones in the house,
learning it all.
Yeah, and I had an experience where I was actually there when Columbine happened. And I'm the same age as all those students that went through that. So not to kind of take a turn, but I was literally, 17 years old standing next to the congressman from Colorado whose district it was, where it was happening, watching on this little black and white 13-inch screen in the cloakroom.
Oh my God.
Watching it happen. And so that was a really poignant moment for me, of course, in my life. Coming back to St. Louis for my senior year of high school, I was completely changed.
Wow.
And my mom always says, you came home and you kept saying like, why has everybody else changed? And really it was the one that you had changed.
Interesting.
Because you saw all these things pretty quickly and had to, there were other things going on, but had to grow up pretty quickly. And so I was ready for Davidson. I was ready for college, but my mom is a first gen college student, and she kind of chose the college that she went to. She started at William & Mary and then came back to St. Louis University to finish out. And she said, I never got the proper sort of college visit tour experience. So we went to 23 schools.
Naturally.
We would, fly into a city, rent a car, and go kind of 150 miles radius around there. And Charlotte, Boston, up into Maine and other places. But I went to a very small Catholic high school as a lifer, Sacred Heart School, pre-K through 12, and graduated with 60 girls. And so I was really looking for a smaller, more kind of nurturing environment, and knew I wanted to do liberal arts of some kind. So that took me from, Bates, Bowdoin, Colby up in Maine, all the way down to Davidson. And I didn't even want to go to Davidson initially. I was all in on, like Wake Forest and even looking at Duke, which I knew was a little bit larger, but we had a family friend who was at Davidson at the time when I was looking, and we were flying out of Charlotte. And so my mom said, we just gotta go and see it.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Brantley was my tour guide. I'll never forget that. So class of 01, great Charlottean, still here.
Wow.
And I just fell in love. I was very fortunate to be the recipient of the William Holt Terry Scholarship.
Okay.
So basically full ride at Davidson, but I've never looked back since. So I'm back at Davidson, but I spent the last kind of 15 years before that living all over the country for jobs and school and other things.
If you could pinpoint 2 to 3 things as to why you are so driven, what would they be?
That's a great question. I tend to answer it with I'm part Sicilian and part German. Okay. So you have the hustle and maybe the scrappiness of Sicilians, and Germans just kind of that work ethic. And I am the firstborn daughter of a firstborn daughter going back 6 generations. And with that, I've seen, all the women in my family are very bright, very driven, and want to break barriers. And really, I think my mom was a lot of that push. She was, again, came from very little, made her way up through being first-gen college student, ended up as one of the only women at Arthur Andersen way back in the day, and then kind of put herself on a different sort of corporate trajectory, and then eventually became a very successful entrepreneur. But she had to fight through a lot of instances of discrimination and other things that really, really affected my life, basically from my kind of middle school to high school. She was involved in some litigation that I saw kind of the ins and outs of what it takes to be a woman and what it be a woman in corporate America and what that looks like, and advocating for yourself. So I owe a lot to my mom and the sacrifice that she made.
Wow. I mean, your first answer was it was in your makeup, but I know that genetics is one thing, but it's also what you're watching, and it's the example laid out in front of you by the people who raised you and that you're growing up with. And it sounds like your mother was a massive influence, probably directly and indirectly, in getting you to do certain things and pushing you, but also showing you the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. There's a lot of, there's a lot of theory on parenting, right? It's like, it's, some people just empower. It's like you make your own decisions, you create your own path, and that can go both ways, or you can, call it helicopter, but really have a lot of influence and a lot of push, and that can go both ways.
Right.
Right. Like I had, a little bit of both. My dad was a little bit more let you do, and my mom was very, very, very attempted to be influential, and it backfired. I did the opposite of everything she wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, say more.
Exactly. So it's interesting. You just never really know. And so I love seeing people who, find the path, and we all measure success differently, but I would look at you and consider you a success. Why?
You. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That's the fascinating part. How and why?
Well, and I will say too, in addition to my mom and my dad, who was there through all sorts of things, I was very blessed to have amazing teachers.
Yeah.
Both through grade school, high school, college. I mean, a lot of my favorite professor. It's a small, and I always felt, the Sacred Heart tradition, one of the goal 3 is a social awareness which impels to action. And for me, that is my life mantra. How do you understand what is going on around you? That social awareness, whether it's just the two of us, whether it's your broader community, whether it's across the nation and getting involved in different things. And it's not enough to just be informed.
Yeah.
But you have to take that next step. You have to take action to the extent to which, you have the ability to do that or seek out help or other things. And so I think that foundation in, sort of my coming up, kindergarten through 12th grade and different mentors that I had access to. And then at Davidson, and I know a lot of people talk about this in Charlotte, but that small environment where you were invited over to faculty members' homes for dinner at the end of the semester. Randy Nelson, who was my mentor, advisor at Davidson in my English major, is still like my second dad.
Wow.
Go and have coffee with him at least once a month, texting with him. I have, years of emails going back and forth with him. So it's just, I feel very blessed to have been around people who really care and took an interest and have helped me a lot.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and then of course, like I went to West Charlotte. There was 1,700 people in my class, and then I go to University of North Carolina where it's just, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me.
Yeah.
And that was not what I needed. I needed what you're talking about. Like I needed that attention or else I'll just get lost.
Yeah.
So that's, and then there's people who thrive, it's just fascinating. Thanks for sharing that. I love to hear that. That's really cool that you still remain friends and close with the people that mentored you and led you. I love to hear that because it sounds, I mean, a lot of this is like, sparking interest just in my personal life, like as a parent with a 15-year-old daughter. She's at Myers Park. It's the biggest school in the fucking world. Yeah. It's like, is that right for her? Like, I can't tell. Like, But, we'll see. We all do our best, right? Yeah.
And you find your tribe kind of wherever you're going, right? And I have a 9, soon to be 10-year-old and 11-year-old boy, and they're best friends, but also completely different. And we chose to go the independent school route, and they're at Cannon School, and that's been a great fit for them. It feels, again, very much like the way that I experienced education, but I realize that's a privilege as well. And trying to give them a diversity of other types of experiences, getting out of their comfort zone, traveling, exposing them to different things, but still within the structure and nurturing of a place and a community that really appreciates core values. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter came up through Trinity Episcopal. So very small, very attention-based and value-based. And their model and their mission was to provide that until a certain point. And then you're on your own. And some people would take that and then go on to the next very small school. But we chose to do the opposite. Yeah. Stay very small, very structured, very protected. Yeah. And then go spread your wings. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
We'll come back in a couple of years and we'll talk about this again.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, so let's move into the things that you're doing. I know you, like I said, you've got your hands in a lot of different things. So let's just touch on the ones that you'd like for people to really maybe take from this and go check out and maybe be a part of as much as that's possible. So let's go there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll kind of build off a little bit of what I said with that social awareness, which impels to action. Yes. And my mantra professionally for a very long time has been that empathy is currency. And a lot of when you're talking,
so provocative.
when you're talking to a room of business people or entrepreneurs, others, currency immediately just checks to transaction. Yeah. And you think of money or things changing hands. I'm a nerd about words. I grew up studying Latin. I took Latin for 6 years. That was another one of my mentors. I love etymology. And so going into what is the root of the word currency? It comes from Latin, the word curare, which means to run. And so throughout my professional career or any kind of extracurricular activities that I'm participating in, I take that social awareness, which impels to action, and I kind of layer on this idea that empathy is the literal current that runs between people, whether you're thinking about the movement of water or electricity. And all of my career, I've thought about how can I build the best teams, the best products or solutions that help people solve a problem, and the processes that help us all be more efficient and working to our highest potential to really create and lift up that sense of electricity together.
Yeah.
So I give that as sort of the 30,000 foot view of everything that I've done or things that I'm involved in.
Let me jump in.
Yeah.
When you describe empathy, I mean, I often think of empathy as more of a feel than a verbal thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you said, like an energy, a current, a vibe,
right,
so to speak. And so when you think of the actual definition, which I don't know and can't state here, but I know that empathy generally means I feel what you feel, and I can understand how you feel based on either my experience or just the way my brain works.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's more of a feel than anything.
Yeah. I think it's both a feel and an action. And the way that I describe it, again, going back to my English major roots, is
Bring it on.
a little bit Atticus and a little bit Scout from To Kill a Mockingbird. So if you think about Atticus in the sort of pursuit of truth, and there's a line in the book, you never know a man until you've walked around in his skin for a bit. Mm-hmm. And from the movie, there's this wonderful picture of Atticus sitting on the porch swing, and Scout is there asking any good 6 or 7 year old, what the 6 whys, why,
Mm-hmm.
that insatiable curiosity. So I see it as the blend of asking really, really great questions. Thank you for the opportunity to do that, because that's what you're doing right here and in this podcast and in your work.
Mm-hmm.
Asking those good questions, not to get to some predetermined answer that you already have in your head or to think about the next step, but to truly understand the 6 whys. What's at the depth of this connection between us, such that now that we have that shared understanding or that feeling, now we're in a much better place to be able to work together on something. Mm-hmm. Because you understand that, hey, I'm a morning person. I'm high energy from 6:30 in the morning until about 11. That's when I get my best thinking done, writing done, collaboration done. Afternoons is more, let's sit and have a chat about this thing or catch up on this type of thing. But I'm not at that peak performance. Yeah. Or this is the way I prefer to receive feedback.
Right.
Or these are the types of projects that I'm interested in doing because I have these values or I've had this life experience and this is what I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
So now that's a little bit more than a complete sentence, but it's that feeling and the action and the understanding.
Well, it makes so much sense, and it's so relatable. Just from an entrepreneurial kind of perspective, and the fact that I'm starting this company, I've got new employees coming in. I just introduced you to my new director of production, AJ Selby, and he's a brilliant guy in this space. And we added him to the team recently. And like we were discussing earlier, and somebody said to me recently, when you add someone to a team, it's not an addition to the team. It changes the team.
That's right.
Right. And so now, because there's this force that's coming in, kind of changing the way things were already systematically done, it's disrupting. And disrupting doesn't mean negative.
Right.
It very much can mean positive, but it requires everything you're talking about. And sometimes that can get a little rocky and a little emotional and a little vulnerable. And perhaps that's what's needed. And that exactly is what happened in with my buddy now, AJ, and now he and I are like kindred. I mean, we're like buds, and we're tight, and we're trusting, and I trust him with everything now. And it took some of that rockiness and that feel and that energy to get to where we are now, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't think people talk enough about building the team and what it really takes. There's so much of this celebritization of Silicon Valley and the founder and putting that founder on podcasts or pedestals or other things. But building a business is fundamentally your team. Like you could have an awesome idea, and if you don't have the right people on the team working together in this shared understanding type of way, it's not going to fly. Yeah. So I'm curious, what, if you're willing to share,
please,
what were the types of conversations or were, did you document things? Did you whiteboard things? Like, how did you get through that initial, joining of talent?
Well, in this particular instance, it was more about some communication around some things that needed to be kind of expressed and shared, and maybe some frustrations and some grievances based on, the lack of understanding of communication styles and just lack of even knowing really each other. It's all brand new. So it came up as, hey, we need to talk. Here's some things that have been kind of, getting at me, and I'd like for you to know, and maybe we can, communicate and make some changes and that kind of thing. And, I started this company. I'm like, who are you to talk to me? And that was something that like I really had to understand and get over that emotional reaction, that defensiveness, that chest puffing out, like, hey, this is my company.
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly what I needed. And this is a guy who has seen and done this, a time or two before, and I haven't. And so he came in and kind of knew what I needed, and I'm not sure he, was just this like evil plan, or not evil, but this plan that he knew what was going to happen and all that. But maybe he did. I don't know. And it started and it went up and went down, and now it's evened out, and we're all better for it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that was just kind of how it all took place.
Yeah.
Communication.
It's so important. I have lots of mantras, but this one, clear is kind is one that I really like to lead with. And one kind of more like tactical way that I've used on my teams, one of my team members, Evan and Maddie and some others, helped bring this idea of a best practices for working with me guide to the team.
Right.
It's a lot of words, but effectively what it is everyone on my team has now written out a short narrative, just like you were asking me these questions. Where did we grow up? What do we value? What are we really interested in? What are some quirky, fun, things that you wouldn't otherwise know about that individual?
Mm-hmm.
How do you prefer to receive feedback? How do you prefer to communicate? When are your energy levels, highest, lowest, and then kind of anything else you're sort of working on or would like to share with the team. The way that we've put that into practice is any new person joining the team in their onboarding in their first 30 days fills that out ahead of having any other one-on-ones with anyone on the team. So we have a shared folder with all of these different best practices for working with me guides. So that new person coming in, it relieves the pressure a little bit because they have the ability to go and read that 1-pager or 2-pager. Mm-hmm. So they feel, again, I'm going to walk in this person's shoes a little bit before I have this initial conversation so that I'm prepared and don't inadvertently, walk into a pet peeve or, take them off, whatever they want to do. That combined with looking at, we use Clifton Strength Finders. We've got a Strength Finders coach on our team, Kelly, who's awesome, looking at individual strengths, do the assessment. And then the third piece that we use is called a team charter. And it's effectively a contract amongst all of us to say, what are we doing? What are our mission, vision, values? How do we prefer to communicate? What criteria are we using when we're making tough decisions? We have both a team charter on a kind of high level ongoing basis, and then you could use that for individual projects as well. Mm-hmm. So if there's something more specific of, here's, this is a timeline, we have this goal, this objective, everybody's clear, everyone signs it. Then you have that buy-in and that commitment. So those three things together, because you talk about, empathy is currency or these things, communication at a high level. I always like to give these are 3 tactical things that you could take away and go use in your team tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it helps to just document those things and get everybody on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, this is so relevant. It's almost like love languages, right? Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's all relationships and communication and styles and attachments. And it's so fascinating, the crossover between what we do in our professions and our professional lives and our personal. Yeah. Especially when you're married and you've got to figure out how to do it effectively or it's doomed. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Really cool. Yeah. Really cool. All right. So let's move into, so there's that's kind of some passion but in what you do. And again, you do a lot of different things, but that is the driven force behind what you've shared with me previously on some of the businesses and the consulting and the board membership and those kinds of things, which is really awesome, and I love it. But let's go into Confluence, just because it's Charlotte based, and we can touch on that, and then go from there.
Yeah. So the other thing we haven't talked about. So I'm a musician, but mostly in my living room.
Of course you are. With
my family and friends. But music, and my whole family is musical. I had an uncle who actually got on the Today Show once for playing the harmonica with his nose. So there's a fun random story. But anyway, it's a fun random story, but it paints a picture, right? So music is like water to me, and everywhere that I've lived, I've either, been at Davidson. I produce concerts all 4 years. I go to live shows all the time. I've been making mixtapes in my bedroom since I was like 7 years old. All of those things is just in me.
Yeah, I know it.
And as we've, lived all over the country, in Chicago and Portland, Oregon, and LA, and all these different places, about 7-8 years ago now, I started taking guitar. My kids gave it to me for Mother's Day one year. And I was taking guitar with a guy named John, and kind of like
Tosca?
No, in Chicago, but like at a school that was over a dive bar in Chicago. And he had gone on the road with Andrew Bird and played 7 instruments. And for me, I was like, how is it possible that you're still scrapping to like make a living with so much talent?
And you're so good.
You're so good. And that started me on this sort of personal and professional education and interest on the music industry. Just trying to understand, like, what are the mechanics that he has, intellectual property, skill, teaching ability, all these things, but yet there's still this gap. And so I started reading books on copyright law. I started reading everything you need to know about the music industry, all this.
You're a lifelong learner.
Oh, yeah, I love it. And when we moved here in 2020 for me to take over the executive director role at the Hurt Hub at Davidson, I didn't want to lose that sense of like, how can I get plugged into the music community here? And I wasn't quite sure. It was COVID, live music was kind of shut down. And so in May of 22, I was on a panel for an Innovate Charlotte Summit, and Rick Thurmond, who's the CMO of Center City Partners, happened to be in the audience. He came up to me afterwards, said, "Hey, I went to Davidson too." I was like, "Oh, Davidson Mafia, okay." And we had lunch that day and just talked about our love of music and vinyl and music tech and what was going on and what he wanted to do in the city. And he passed me this Music Everywhere Charlotte report and said, "Go read that and come back to me." I was like, okay. Read it cover to cover that weekend. And I sent him an email back and I said, "Listen, I've been producing events for 25 years. If you really want to put on a conference, like, just plug me in. Where can I be helpful?"
Yeah.
I really believe in what you're trying to do. And Confluence overall is focused on how do we build up independent artists here in Charlotte and Southeastern region? How can we really expand the music industry footprint here? Because there's a ton of talent and professionals who are either here working remotely or building their own labels or working on, interesting tech startups and other things. And we really need to, bring these people together. And so, Confluence had started in 2019 at the Whitewater Center, went dormant through COVID. And then Rick, reimagined it in 2023, got on board working with all sorts of cool people in and around it. And honestly, I felt like an imposter because at that point I'm like, I have no background in the music industry aside from like reading some books, listening to some podcasts and talking to people and taking some lessons, right? But how can I be helpful? Again, that like social awareness, which impels to action. This is something that's important to me. I believe in it from a community standpoint. And so the last 3 years and this year, man, we have a killer lineup. I'm so excited.
Love it.
But we're really intentional about, so it's October 8th through the 11th this year at Union West. And we will have about 3 days of more of a traditional conference where we'll have panel discussions and keynotes, some awesome keynotes. Can't talk about that quite yet, but they're coming. And we are also this year introducing a music tech summit. So we're going to do a startup showcase, bringing all people from not just Charlotte, but around the region and potentially from across the country as well to come and not pitch for money quite yet. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But this first year is to just give people a platform to share what they're doing. So I've so enjoyed being a part of it. Now, 3 years hence, I feel like I have a little bit more knowledge and street cred, but it's really about making those connections, building those relationships here, and helping Charlotte stand out as its own unique music entity and center.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to be Austin or Nashville or London or New York or LA. How can we be uniquely Charlotte and the Carolinas?
Golly, I love this.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, being a Charlotte person, I haven't been here for 48 years, but I was born and raised here. My mother is 3 or 4 generations back Charlotte.
Yeah.
So I love Charlotte, and I also know Charlotte like a lot of people don't. And similarly to you, once you dig, it's there. You find it. There are pockets, there are hubs, there are people, there are artists, everything is here, despite the stereotype of this town. And there's a reason why we're characterized as a banking town and a boring town and a new town and lack of culture and all these things. It's because we're fast growing and new and clean and we don't have all these dive bars with music every night. We've kind of shut those down, unfortunately. But hopefully
there's still some good ones
keep popping back up. Yep.
Yeah.
But like you said, I know it's here, and I love the fact that you said it differently. It's not like we're not trying to emulate something else. We're trying to create our own. And that's really cool. That makes it sound more achievable.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, we don't need to be anything else. We can be our own.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. And that, again, going back to the empathy, understanding it, like having these conversations with artists. What do you need? What are you seeing? How can we help you? Or in the industry, there are so many people, again, with COVID, I think, with the diaspora, there's a lot of really high-powered music industry professionals who have chosen Charlotte as their home for all the other good, great weather, cost of living, their families settled here, whatever those things are. And they are willing to come out and help. I've really, in all the conversations that we've had trying to stack, because usually we have about 30 or so speakers. So we started planning this in January and we're still having these conversations. It takes a while to kind of get everybody on there, but I haven't been on any call where somebody has said no because they're questioning Charlotte.
Right.
What's going on there?
Yeah.
Yes, there's always the conflict of, calendars or what have you, but everyone is super interested in what we're doing here. Even people who are coming from New York and have big names like a Sherry Hugh, who is a wonderful researcher in the music tech space. She runs a blog, ironically, called Water and Music. So I appreciate that. She had, last year we had her speak, first time she'd ever been in Charlotte. And Mark Eckert, like the wonderful ambassador he is, took her around all sorts of different things. And she was like, I want to come back every year. There's so much going on here. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so it's really incumbent upon us to build up those stories, to share that more with the world, to lean into the excellence of this conference and bring as many diverse voices as possible to the table.
Wow.
So I'm really bullish on what we've got going on, right?
No, it's great. It's depending on who you talk to, you get different feels on kind of what's going on here, but you got to talk to the right people to really understand.
Yeah.
And Confluence is, I was there last year, and it's a smaller scale, but I understand the goal is to grow and get bigger, and that's what's needed is the expansion, the increase. The desire is here, the demand is here.
Yeah.
Right. That's. I understand you got to have all the bits and pieces of the pie, but like the demand is here. We're all music fans.
Yes.
We all love music.
Yes.
Always have, and that's super exciting. I'm really glad you're a part of that spearhead.
Yes.
All right. So let's wrap. What, if anything, would you like to direct our audience to that you've got your hands in that you feel is super important for people to know?
Yeah. Well, my core day job is being the executive director of the J. Hurt Hub for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Davidson. We have a phenomenal team, as we've been talking about. I'm so lucky and blessed to have the team that I do driving so much impact to help budding entrepreneurs, those who are entrepreneurs as well, who are really interested in innovation, but giving them access to things like educational programming, capital, mentorship, co-working space. We now have over 150 businesses in our co-working space.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And we've most recently launched in the last couple of years a comprehensive small business consulting firm. So we have students who are providing consulting for startups and small businesses, but also my staff and others in our network, faculty members, other staff across Davidson College with incredible expertise, willing, ready, and able to help anyone like you or others who are trying to start a business, really trying to work through a hard problem. And the vast majority of our services, especially our programming, is free. We're very fortunate to have great supporters from different organizations like the Truist Charitable Fund and donors that have been very generous to us over the years, where we are financially self-sustaining and we can either subsidize or provide for free all of the core ingredients that we know and research has proven that allows entrepreneurs to be successful.
Is this for, I mean, I kind of know the answer to this question. It's not just for Davidson students. It's for the community. It's for the city.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah, anyone can come through our doors and take our programs. And in fact, we're almost about like 50-50 when it comes to educational programming, like our Building a Lean Startup class, which is sort of the core. It's run by Rebecca Weeks-Watson, who we both know very well. Again, longstanding Charlottean.
Yeah.
And she's been with us since the very beginning of the opening of the doors of the Hurt Hub. That is one of our flagship programs. But we have many others, things like the Solopreneur Circle or our Innovation Community of Practice, student consulting I already mentioned. All of those things are available to anyone in the community. Some of our grant funding, has some restrictions on it to those just in the county or in, the city or within some limits within the state. But for the most part, it is open and free for all.
Not sure why I'm not there all the time.
You are welcome to come. I know listen, I've lived in LA, Chicago, and many other places. Traffic's not that bad.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Right.
I hear that all the time. I'm in LA all the time and I'm like, this is traffic.
This is traffic.
This is real.
At 3 a.m. when, it takes you an hour to get anywhere in the city.
All day.
That's it. Yeah.
Totally.
So
Liz Brigham, thank you so much. You're a bright light. You're an inspiration.
Thank you.
I'm pulling for all the things you do, even though I don't know if you need that. I guess we could all use it. But yeah, exactly. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for sharing everything today. And I can't wait to continue watching.
Yes, this was a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Of course.